So as of right now, I was incorrect. You can't do this props.history on the main app.js page. So I think I was going a little bit prematurely. Sorry about that. So right now we have, again, just to recap where we started, we want to create a page, a separate route for all the sections up here. So we created a separate route by defining the route here. We're pointing the code that handles it to the section page component. We wrote most of the code already. So we said this this component has a constructor, a render, and a component did mount. So just to get started, we're saying that this particular section page, when it first gets born, has articles equal to just an empty array. Once the component mounts on the screen, I'm going to make an API request to Article API to grab it based off of the section. And then at that particular point, I'm going to set the state, which had originally an empty array of articles. I'm going to just say, I want to set it to the articles that get returned from the API. From there, I'm just going to return the word hi out to the screen just to make sure that we get something. So if all goes well, remember I created this /section/section ID. So if I go to /sections/opinion, if something shows up, then we're in decent shape. Okay, so this page does exist. We do have the word hi that shows up on the screen. Now I want to list out all of, if we go back to the original, I want to just have all of the articles that are related to the section called opinion. So is there code that I can reuse from one of the other components inside of my section page? It's not going to be article teaser.
Article list.
It is going to be article list, but what component, what page holds all of those things together?
Article page.
Nope, homepage. So we're here on homepage. We made a request to get all of the things first, and now I just want to create a smaller subset. So instead of, I'm going to grab most of this code from here. I'm just going to grab this and dump it inside of this section page.js. So I'm gonna create a bunch of article teasers. Maybe this I probably don't need this article teaser because that's Raymond's specialty, fancy thing. I think this should work. Let's find out. So it says article list is not defined. It's an easy thing to solve. Inside of this file, I haven't brought it in yet. So I need to import article list from, I have to go out one level into components, into article list.js. If it goes well, this page will refresh. It says something blew up. All right, so I'm here. You need to go out one level into components, into article list, the folder, and then article list.js. I'm here. Right now, none of these links work quite yet, because we'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to go to /sections/opinion, and nothing shows out on the screen. So let's start doing some troubleshooting. We're going to do console log this.state. We'll just take a look at what this.state includes. I'm going to refresh this page. Nothing shows up out to the screen. And we have an object with no articles inside of it. Same thing again. What are we missing here? Something is different. Am I missing something?
I know. Even after you refresh it.
Even after I refresh it, it's still not getting me anything.
Is it maybe called fetch articles by section in a different file?
Fetch articles by section. Interesting. So we have fetch articles by section. Let's go back. Let's see if this works. Refresh the page. Hey, winner, winner. So we have just the articles that relate to opinion. And if I click on these, hopefully they will take me to the right news site. All right, that works for me. That's pretty good. One thing I do want to one thing I do want to mention is usually we put like API calls in the component did mount component lifecycle method, and we're going to do it here. But another scenario to account for is like, let's say you go from opinion to world or something like that, and you just kind of click around over here. The fetch call that you made in the component did mount is not going to happen again. So if I go to world or something like that, this will work. But if I were to just simply click around and then it just makes a new request, like that component's already loaded on the page. So instead of using the component did mount method that I have here, I'm going to actually change it to the component did update. So again, if you're just making one API call and you're never making it again, component did mount is good. If you're going to make multiple API calls, you're going to click around to different things. It's going to make multiple requests on one page. Component did update is going to be your friend here. Let's just make sure that this still works. So we have opinion, world, national, and business. Let me go to national. I still get everything there. Let's take a look at business. Get a different subset of articles. So this section looks pretty decent to me. Now, a little bit earlier, inside of app.js, I was trying to be a little bit fancy and like try to take care of all the handling of the history inside of this particular point. Now, since we are on app.js, which is the topmost level, browser router does not have something called this.history. That's something that after you render the browser.router, you have access to. But as of like at the very top level, you don't have access to it, which is something I actually didn't know myself. So instead of doing the this.history.push, we're going to teach something called we're going to basically create a new link, a React router. React router has something called link so we don't have to keep pushing stuff into history. We can just create a link, and that'll take care of everything for us. So first things first, I want to get rid of this handle nav click that's happening here. Probably don't need it because right now it's just console logging everything out to the screen. Since I passed it from app.js into app.nav, I'm going to go inside of app.nav and also get rid of this this handle nav click. Looks like I probably don't need this at all. Inside of the app.nav, we're going to modify this array of stuff that we're having here. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like before it looked a little something like this, where I created a nav item with a key and then an on click, which is going to handle it's going to handle the click and go up one level. But instead of having all that happen over here, I'm just going to return, get rid of this nav item altogether. Turn this thing. Now this is a little bit new, so let me put them side by side. So instead of including one specific nav item from Bootstrap to just go nowhere, I'm going to create a link. Like every single one of this is going to be a list objects, and every one of these list objects is going to be a link. Kind of make sense? So instead of creating a nav item, which is an extension off of React Bootstrap, I'm going to create a list object. Each one of the list objects value is going to be just a link. So let's see if that works. I don't believe, since I'm not using nav item anymore, I can remove that. And let's see if this works. I'm going to load up the top one. And yep, it says link is not defined. That's a good point. So link comes in from React Router DOM. So I can do import link from React Router DOM. Let's see if this works. All right, so within here, I think this works. Output, everything looks good. Maybe I want to use let's see if this works. So if I click this, will it take me to opinion? Well, if I click this, will it take me to world? Will it take me to national? Will it take me to business? I think this looks pretty good. One small little line gives us the ability to get rid of that this.props.history.push for everything. And we have now just all of these list elements that exist here. Now, if I were to go back to this section page real quick, and instead of component did update and I just did component did mount, I'm fairly certain it won't update after I click the first one. So I click on world and nothing happens. I click on national and nothing happens. I click on business and nothing happens. So it's once it loads onto the screen for the first time, this particular, like the section page has loaded, the section page did mount onto the screen. It's not going to refresh ever again because it doesn't know like when or how. So instead of doing it once it mounts onto the screen, anytime it updates. So if I click on a new page and it sends me to a new page, it's automatically going to refresh. I'm here, that one tiny little line, I went from opinion to world to national to business because it's listening for any time that the component updates rather than the first time that it loads. After the first time it loads, if with component did mount, you're not able to do anything else. So recapping, we created a new route, we created a new page. The page using the component did update React component lifecycle method makes an API request to article API, grabs all the articles, shoves it inside of state, and renders that out to the screen. The last little bit that we want to do for today is when we're on the main home page, I want to have maybe a small little search bar. So like the first things that I like in terms of high level things that we need to know, I'm going to, inside of article API, it looks like we're probably going to be using this, this fetch articles, and we're going to be passing in some filters. So we know that we're going to be using this last fetch articles, and we're actually going to be passing some filters in. And maybe like, actually no, filters is okay.
I think in the README, it tells you to create a fourth.
Yep. Yeah, maybe when you type in something inside of, when you go to Amazon.com, you want to search for something, what do you usually type in? Like the name of the product? So I think for us, we can do a search articles API. Maybe something called search articles, and that's going to look for maybe a title. We'll just start for title. So they say that this should be almost identical to fetch articles by section, where I pass in a section, and then it's going to interpolate over here. But instead of that, I'm going to change from the section to the title. So the filter object that they gave us to use looks a little something like this, where the title is I like the text that we're going to be looking for. The I like is basically saying like, what is I like? Do people know?
It's kind of like using SQL query.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like as long as the title includes something like in the front or the back or somewhere inside the entire title, if it includes something similar to the text string that you're passing in, then we'll just use that.
Right. So I like is what, like the entire like this is a giant string or something.
So when we were doing things up here with the fetch article by section, we were saying, I'm going to pass you in a section, and the filter that I want you to use is where the section is equal completely to the section that I pass in. But over here, since you don't know what the user is going to type in at any given point, I'm saying, I want you to search the API where the title is I like and the text that we're looking for. I like is case insensitive. I'm basically, you remember back in SQL where it was like, let's see, like select star from, I don't know, people where name is like, and then like we did like percentage Bob or something like that. So the idea is anything that matches Bob with anything in the beginning or anything at the end, like you have any letters at the end or beginning of Bob, but as long as the word Bob is in there, I'm going to get that search result back. So I'm going to turn all of these real quick. into the query string and just kind of shorten it all down. I think I can just grab this here and replace it with the filter that we used to have. Hope this works. I'm not sure that it will. We'll find out. So first things first, we created a brand new API method called search articles. We have it right over here. And at this particular point, we have to find the home page and add a little search bar underneath it so that when we start typing on things, it's going to capture what we type and call out to the API. So as we mentioned, we want to grab that text input and then put it on the home page. So we're going to use a nicely styled thing that Bootstrap gives to us for free. We'll call it after this dot, or maybe I'll put this, should I put this before or after the article teaser? It's up to you. I could put the search bar over here. I could put the search bar underneath. Underneath.
I think you also need to export that function you wrote.
I need to export the API. Okay. So explain what that means.
Right now at the bottom you have export default.
Mm-hmm.
And you have access to 3 of the functions.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have access to search articles.
Yep. So even though just because I wrote it inside of here doesn't mean that it's accessible everywhere else. I'm going to add another comma, search articles, and the value of that is going to be search articles over here. So I've added, out of my homepage, I've added this form group and form control. But as of right now, it blows up. It says, I don't know what form group or form control are. Form group and form control come in from React Bootstrap. So do I have React Bootstrap in here? Just throw this up underneath. I believe it's called form group and form control. Form group, form control. Let's take a look at this little bit of code that I brought in. So I brought in the form group, and I have a form control. It's basically that it's basically just a form, but it looks nice because it's from Bootstrap. So I have an onChange event handler saying that anytime that something changes, I'm going to execute something called handle search. I know that this is going to be something that's going to come to us from app.js because it's not defined over here. Or maybe I can put it inside of here. Who knows? We'll figure that one out. So let's see if this just shows up on the page. So loading, loading, loading. Uh-oh, something's broken. So let's take a look. Unknown props active, active key, active href on li tag. On which page? On the li of appNav line 6. So appNav line 6. First things first, this is just a warning. Unknown props active, active key, active href. Remove these props from the warning. So active. This is just a warning. I don't care. This one, however, is broken. It says that I cannot read the property bind of undefined. Okay. So if you take a look over here, I have this.handleSearch.bind this. So do you think the handle search should live here on the home page or should it live on app.js? So I have a handle search. Should it live here or should it live on app.js?
According to that, should be homepage.
Yep. So trick question because it says this.handleSearch. So this refers to the context of homepage. If it was this.props.handleSearch, it would be app.js. So I'm going to create a quick method called handleSearch. And since handleSearch is attached to an event handler, it's going to grab the entire event of what's changed. So let's say I'm going to create a const real quick of the text user inputted. And I'm going to set that equal to event.target.value. So on this onChange, again, it's an event handler. So whenever anything happens to it, I automatically get this event for free. The event.target.value is what the person entered on this particular form. And using that, I'm going to call out to the API. So I'm going to just say, I'm going to have to call out to this API here, which means I have to import the API, which I have. I don't know, let's just do article API dot search articles with this particular bit of text. Search articles with the text the user inputted. Once I get this, what do you want? What should I do with it? So once I get some sort of result, then I'm going to get maybe some articles coming back. Maybe I'll reset the state again. This dot set state, and I'll just do articles. And keeping up with Raymond's stuff, I'll just have this loading as false as well. Let's see if this works. So as of right now, I've got a search bar. It's this long search bar because it's the one from React Bootstrap. If I start typing, let's say I start typing Fallujah, F-A-L-L, there it is. So it's automatically updating based off of every single letter that I type in. Every single letter that, oh God, every single letter that I type in, is basically firing off this onChange. Every single letter that I type in is going to be saved as text to the user inputted, call out to the API, and then reset all the articles on the page as the articles that I actually typed in to begin with. So maybe let's talk about about. Let's type the word about. A, B, O, yeah, and there you go. So any article with the title starting with A, B, O are the ones that are remaining over here. So this morning, what did we do? First we added a new route inside of this inside of app.js, created a new section page. The section page we learned about ComponentDidUpdate. It's a brand new lifecycle method, just in case you want to keep track of any time something updates rather than when, just the first time that something loaded. From there, we created a new we created a new article API fetch method. We also used a brand new link to up here to create links rather than this .props.history.push, because that's really annoying. And then finally, we used the form group and form control to create a search box. Anytime the search box changes, I'm calling out to the API and overriding the original state. You can kind of see that this is just the functionality behind React, and why it's so much more fun to use than Rails is that inside of Rails, there's no ability to do this, like where I can just type in the letter like V, I, D, and then and just narrow it down super quickly like that. In order for Rails to do this, you have to send a request to the server has to think of things and then respond right away. Because this is using JavaScript, your browser is doing most of the heavy lifting, and it's just sending requests every second to every single time that you change like a letter. So if I go back, like these are all like an event has happened on the page, and it just calls out to the API. Any questions?
So for the filters, can you filter everything like any type of, so that I like is like that type of any keyword is a keyword filter?
Yep. As long as it includes, well, we can just look it up. What is I like?
I actually found it. I did a global search in the Sublime for I like. And I found like a whole algorithm, I would say, that has different keywords you can use. Like use I like, regex.
Mhm.
You could use like not like or something.
Cool. Yeah. So the I usually in front of like just means insensitive, and like is like as long as it matches something. So case insensitive as long as it matches something inside of the title. Okay. Let's do